I wanted a new garden bed, the raised bed kind with the metal sides, because I think that's going to last a long time here in my suburban garden. And what I wanted to know was which garden bed was best, because there are two on the market right now, the Birdies and the Vego, and I wasn't sure which one would be the best one for me. So I looked everywhere trying to see if anyone had done a comparison on these garden beds, and I couldn't find it anywhere. Well, I'd already planned to buy two garden beds, so instead of wondering any longer, I went ahead and bought one of each, and in this video I'm going to put them together and give you my initial thoughts on both of the garden beds. I also wanted to tell you this is not a sponsored video. I bought these beds on my own. No one's paying me to say anything, and I'm going to give you my personal honest review. Before I unbox them, I just wanted to give you a couple of things to notice. So the Vego is 32 inches tall. The Birdies is about 740 millimeters, which converts to just over 29 inches. The thing that I noticed is that the box for the Vego was a little bit heavier, but that would make sense. If each panel is about 2 inches taller, it should be just a little heavier. Both beds shipped to me from the United States. The Vego bed is actually made in China. That was one of the bits of information I couldn't find, but the Vego bed is made in China, and the Birdies bed is made in Australia. I bought the Vego from the Vego website, and I bought the Birdies from the Epic Gardening website, and the prices are neck and neck. They were within a few pennies of each other, if I recall. Now you may be wondering, why invest in a metal bed? Each of these was around $300 US when I made the purchase at the end of 2021. But I looked at the price of lumber and I considered how long these beds may last, and I felt like it was a better investment for my little suburban garden. And at least what I've seen online so far, Mark from Self-Sufficient Me has had his Birdies beds for more than 13 years. And Vego says that their beds have been designed to last for 20 years, though they're a newer company, so time will tell on that. I do plan to provide intermittent updates on how the beds are doing in the garden in our conditions here in Florida. All right, let's let the unboxing begin. One thing to note, and I've seen people online talk about this taking a lot of extra time, is each of the panels, in order to keep them from being scratched during shipping, I suppose, are covered with this little plastic sheeting. I am not taking that off for the assembly of the bed. I will try to pull it back from each of the little holes, but since I'm on a concrete surface, I really don't want to scratch this bed up before I get it out in the garden. This is no wimpy material. It's definitely much stronger than some of the department store garden beds that I've seen. So I'm excited to put the next bed together, and we'll do an overview and see how they all look. One thing I noticed is the Birdies bed doesn't have nearly the interior packaging that the Vego bed had, and during shipping it looks like this got dropped on the corner here. And so I am going to take a small pair of vice grips and I'm going to use a cloth and I'm going to bend those corners back. See, Not a problem at all to bend that back out. Just a matter of giving a little turn, because all this corrugation together works together to make this bed strong. So this little bend is not going to affect the quality of the bed. It's just a little annoyance for how the package was handled. All right, now that the beds are put together, it's time to do some head-to-head comparison. We have the Vego over here and the Birdies over here. It took about 2 hours for me to put the Vego bed together, and it took about 1 hour and 40 minutes for the Birdies. Now, I did learn some things on the Vego bed that made it easier to do the Birdies bed, but I didn't find that it changed the time by very much. The places I struggled the most on both beds was putting that last screw or the last 2 screws in the bottom of the bed. I was doing this by myself. I wanted to do it by myself on purpose to see what it would take for me to do it. I have some ideas if I put some together in the future of how I'll handle those bottom screws, but I tried sticking it up on chairs, I tried sticking it up on blocks, and both ways just really slowed me down. The way that it would have been faster is to simply have had another human available to help me, and it would have gone much, much faster on either bed. I went back to double check the price. When I purchased these in December of 2021, there was less than $1 difference between the two. Both websites had coupon codes that I could use, and both websites were offering free shipping. So they were delivered to my door for around $305 each. Some differences in the way that they're made, and we'll walk around and take a look at these. I configured the 2 beds using all of the panels that were available, and I configured them to be similarly sized. I chose mist green for the Birdies and olive green for the Vego, and the color is incredibly similar. The Vego is just at 6'5" long and 3'5" wide. The Birdies is 6'10" and the Birdies is 3'8". And configured this way, I might be able to get one more row of plants in the Birdies for the small things that I plan to grow in here. The Vego is made up of 12 panels, and you use 6 screws on each end of the panel to connect them for a total of 72 screws. And they use a screw on the outside and then a washer and a nut. And on the top 2 rows, you use a cap nut. That's one of the things that I think made it just a little bit longer, was having to handle both the washer and the nut when I was trying to reach over the side of the bed to put the pieces together. The Birdies bed in this configuration used all the panels also, but that was 10 panels. And on the sides I used 2 panels that were the same width, and on the ends I used panels that were a little bit narrower. So it came with 2 narrow panels, 2 wider panels, and 4 corner pieces. Both of the beds come with this edging material. I noticed when I cut it that the edging material on the Vego seemed to have a little bit of steel in it and might hold up a little bit better over time. And the one on the Birdies is a plastic edging. One thing that I see happen here after the bed has settled is I cut this and it was even yesterday, but it seems that now that it's settled on the bed, it has shrunk a little bit, and so I've got a little gap here. I do have some more of this material, so I'll just fill a little piece right in there to have that fully covered. Now let's talk about the plastic. The Birdies bed only had plastic on the outside, and they recommended, just like Vego, to take that plastic off before you did your assembly. I didn't want to take it off because I'm assembling on concrete. I didn't want to scratch up the beds any sooner than I needed to. So I did leave the plastic on, but the plastic on the Birdies is just on one side, whereas the plastic on the Vego was on both sides of the beds. And so when it came time to take the plastic off, I really wish I had taken off the interior plastic. It would have made it a little bit easier, though I have to say, I believe pulling the plastic off while it's a little bit cooler outside and while all the beds are attached together, I think that actually made it easier to pull the plastic off of both of the beds. Both the beds are made of a corrugated material, which is going to give strength to this over time. Honestly, they look incredibly the same, and if I didn't know which was which, I couldn't look at these and go, this one came from Birdies or this one came from Vego. The Vego bed is just a wee bit taller, like 1 rib taller than the Birdies, but the Birdies ends up being a little bit longer. For the weight, the packaging showed that the Vego bed was a little bit heavier, but I will say the Vego had better packaging inside and I had less dents with the Vego. So now I guess it just comes down to which do I like better. Well, there were features of each that I liked during the assembly process, and there are features that I think I'll like as time goes on with the beds, because the real test is going to be, okay, which one was easier to put together? Both. But which one's going to hold up to the test of time, where the rubber meets the road, as it were, for my investment in this? I like the ribbing better on top of the Vego bed. I like, from an assembly standpoint, how the screw and the flange nut worked on the Birdies bed. That made it a little easier. I was happy with the packaging in the Vego, and I was happier with the height in the Birdies when it came time to get that last screw in. So ultimately it comes down to whether I want something that's a little taller, a little shorter, something that's made in China, or something that's made in Australia. Time will tell how they hold up, and I know that I'll be putting some more raised beds in my yard, but I don't know which one it'll be yet, because I'm going to wait and see how they really hold up over time in the Florida heat, and we'll see how they do. Birdies has been on the market for a long time, and we know now there are a number of competitors coming along to compete with them. So ultimately it's going to be which one does the best in my yard. Honestly, I might order both again. Vego has some different styles and varieties that Birdies doesn't have that I might choose to use maybe for the patio. But in the garden, I might choose the Birdies bed again. I wish there had been a definitive answer. I was looking in my gut. I was like, I'm gonna like one of these so much better than the other. And the truth is, they're both great. They both feel very sturdy. They are equally sized. They feel like an equal quality. There's one little thing here or one little thing there that could have been different or better for each one of them, but overall I'm happy with the process. And I think the very best thing to do is to just pick one. And ultimately, the only thing it may come down to for me is choosing whether I want to buy more garden beds that were made in China or more garden beds that were made in Australia. That could ultimately be the final decision. And of course, that decision is up to you as well. I appreciate you joining us on this video. Thank you for tuning in to Michelle in the Meadow. If you like this content, feel free to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I plan to do more suburban homestead type videos, product reviews, and progress on how we're doing turning a little suburban lot into a place where we can grow our own food and really enjoy life. Thanks and have a fantastic day.